A critical discussion on the intricate relationship between capital markets and the prevailing macroeconomic headwinds now, particularly with the Nigerian context. We'll delve into how economic forces are shaping investment landscapes and influencing strategic decisions. We'll also explore the resilience of key players, the dynamics of investors' sentiments towards sovereign risk, and profound impact of monetary policy on market returns. I know next week is decision day. Right here in Nigeria. Joining me now to unpack this, we have Mr. Yemi Ajao, who's Executive Director of Investment and Group Chief Investment Officer at Odu'a Investment Company Limited. It's great to have you, sir.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here as well.
Yeah, so I see most of what you do, investment, at this point, and I know you wear many hats, from the oil and gas industry and also to
my background,
exactly, to locating the right investment, at this point. And I guess congratulations are in order right now. Your latest rating there by Agusto, I went from A+ to AA-. Talk to me about that.
Interesting, that's the third time in a row that we've gotten an increased rating. So we're excited about that. It sort of shows the resilience of the business. If you know the history of Odu'a, started in the 70s to warehouse the assets of the then Western region. Some of those assets are even older than Nigeria. The investment in Lafarge was done in the 50s. The investment in Nigeria was done in the 50s. And those are still assets and investments we still own in the portfolio today. But then, along the way, in the 90s and to early 2000s, maybe Nigeria happened to so many businesses, macroeconomic issues, maybe poor management. But luckily, over the past, I would say, for 14 years, the owner states have been more intentional about the way they follow up on Odu'a. And so the increased rating that we've just witnessed is a result of every little step that has been made or that has been taken over the past, I would say, 12 years.
Right, and how difficult is it to, maintain these ratings or actually be, upgraded? And what does it mean, really? Does it mean, you guys are able to go and, you're credit worthy?
Oh, yes.
At this point, anybody can give you money.
So to answer the first part of your question, right. How difficult it is, it's not, I wouldn't say it's difficult. We know what, if you do the right thing, your cash flow is good and it's increasing. The rating agencies know what they're looking for. And we happen to have done the right thing. We happen to have done the things that are expected of a business, irrespective of whether we're looking for ratings or not. Now, the last part of your question, does that mean we're credit worthy? Oh, yes, that means we are credit worthy. And I think at some point, we will definitely tap the market to say, okay, we have this kind of rating. Maybe we might just come to the market and look at issuing something like commercial paper, which a lot of businesses in Nigeria do today.
Right. So what does this signal, right now about, Nigeria's economy, in 2025?
Well, I wouldn't say the rating signals anything about the Nigerian economy.
Right.
Yeah. But as you know, we've gone through a difficult period as a nation, macro-wise, over the past few years. But then with the reforms of the new government, there seems to be a lot of optimism, especially in the investor market. Everybody's thinking, things are looking good. But then that has not translated to anything positive on the street. So the common man has not really felt anything. Things are still very tough. If you look at the stock market, the optimism is there. And of course, the stock market looks forward. It doesn't look at exactly what's happening today. They're looking at, we think it's going to look good. So if you also look at the NPR and the way it has behaved over the past, since the beginning of the year, at the early part of this year was like 29%, about 29%.
Right, so we've maintained that tight stance,
but with
trying to bring down inflation.
With the rebasing of the inflation, which we did about that time. Today, the last auction of the T-bills that were done, the yield was around 20, low 20s. So really, that could signal that inflation is being fought and by CBN. If that signals anything, it means that the borrowing rates for businesses should go down over the next year or two. Maybe that would be the time for a group like Odu'a to say, let's test the market and see this our rating. Can we make use of it?
Right, and talking about the macro side of things now, definitely next week I believe we should have the decision day. That's for the MPC that we're meeting to tell us what's going to happen next with borrowing costs. And we see, in the U.S., President Trump is asking for rate cuts. They're pressuring the U.S. Fed, but we're not seeing that much pressure here. Although from private sector side, they're saying that the MPC should cut rates, should start cutting rates now. What do you think? Is that the right path?
So the private sector that is pushing for the CBN to cut rates is simply because there's a belief that inflation is no longer as problematic as we thought it was going to be. The jury is still out on that, because remember, the rebasing that was carried out in December or thereabout could be, some people see it as financial engineering. Some see that what wasn't required. So until we actually feel the impact that, personally, until we actually feel the impact that the inflation has actually subsided, I would say that's when the MPC will cut it. But then the end of affairs, they take the decision. Next week, we'll know.
Right, and talking about the rebasing, the inflation data and all of that, definitely even at these levels, inflation is still very high.
Still very high. If I remember correctly, back in, I would say 10, 15 years ago, the target had always been around 12, 10%. Today we are 20-something percent. So low 20s, still very high.
Right. I know you're a very big investor at this point, and definitely you have your eyes on the streets. At this point, talk to me about where big investors are seeing confidence in the Nigerian economy.
In the Nigerian economy, a lot of people are pushing the agri sector, especially in the value add. From food, provision of food to on the table, food security as well for the country. There's also a lot of push in the health sector. As you can imagine, there's a huge number of money that we spend outside the country to treat ourselves for the critical illness. But then there have been a lot of a few hospital-type healthcare platforms that have sprung up over the past few years. In fact, Odu'a made an investment in one early this year, and we are excited about the opportunity because of our government leaning or relationship with government or region, I would say. We just didn't make that investment to make money. We made that investment with the intention and the hope that at some point we'll be able to spread healthcare, affordable healthcare around the region of our stakeholders. So I would say in terms of investment, a lot of people are looking at agri, they're looking at healthcare. At Odu'a, we're also looking at the infrastructure side that could support agri and trade. We're trying to revive a few of our old businesses that have assets that are strategically located in different parts of Nigeria, and we're working on that. Hopefully, in a couple of months, some of this will come to fruition. And of course, hospitality. You can never say we have enough good hotel rooms in Nigeria. So Lagos Airport Hotel that we own, we're looking at the development of that as well. We started the process, I would say, elaborate process that we started. We've hired financial advisors, and so that should take us a few months of development planning before we get to groundbreaking.
Right, and I'm going to be discussing real estate a lot, today. Okay. Talk to me about the region, so far. How are you seeing the real estate industry, when you look at demand, supply in this region that you cover? What are you seeing so far? What are the trends?
So it's interesting that in the same region, you can have a very wide perspective of real estate. In Lagos, what you see in Lagos is not what you see in Osun State, say Ede or something. For us at Odu'a, we have a subsidiary, 100% subsidiary that focuses on real estate, Wemabod, and we're doing a lot in the Lekki axis in Ikoyi. I don't know if you've been following the news. Just last week or 2 weeks ago, we broke ground on a project at Lugard. And today, I will also be breaking ground on the redevelopment of Awolowo Glass House at Ikeja. In fact, I'm headed there from here as part of our real estate program. We're looking at residential, and we're looking a lot at the industrial, warehousing. One of the better performing assets that we have in real estate are the warehouses that we have, because there's been a lot of demand for those, and we are all trying to capitalize on actually taking a bit of the industry, that market that is not well served, the grade A modern warehouses that the international companies require for their own business. So,
right. I guess demand for warehousing, that's a good sign. Sure. That means production is happening.
Yeah, it also could mean so many things. The economy has changed. 35 years ago, I think, in Nestle, we built something at the interchange and include warehousing. Right? Lever Brothers and all of them, they take hectares of land and build and start manufacturing. Today, a lot of Chinese and Indian manufacturers, smaller scale manufacturers are all littered around on that Lagos, Ibadan, Shagamu axis. And they don't necessarily have their own warehousing facilities. And remember, even they might be in Shagamu. Most of them are targeting the Lagos population. So definitely they would need to move their goods and have a central distribution centers in maybe Ikeja, maybe somewhere that will serve the Lagos population.
All right. Yeah. Well, I guess, a lot to unpack there and a lot to look out for.
Sure.
We've done with the first half of 2025. We're in the second half now. I'm sure we will have your eyes set on various investments. But thank you so much for helping us unpack all of this today. I've been speaking to Mr. Yemi Ajao, Executive Director, Investments and Group Chief Investment Officer at Odu'a Investment Company Limited. Thank you for coming on today.
Pleasure. Thank you.
All right, we'll take the conversation further now. We'll see a report titled State of